Hey guys, and welcome to Gwent, the Witcher card game. My name is Jaggerus, and today I've got another beginner deck for you, and that is my beginner weather monsters deck. Now, for this deck, I'm running the leader Dagon. He's a 7 strength unit, and when you play him, he will spawn frost, fog, or rain, which means you don't need to have it in your deck. So spawn, what that does is it just makes one for you. It creates the card. Whereas if we look at, say, the Wild Hunt Hound summons frost, which means it will pull one from your deck. So you have to have frosts in your deck in order for this effect to trigger, basically. And that's a key feature that a lot of beginners kind of slip up on. So I'm going to start by clarifying that. Now, Dagon you unlock by doing the monster challenges, and I actually have a video on the channel right now of me doing those monsters challenges with my beginner Northern Realms deck. So if you haven't done those yet, and you want to unlock Dagon, then maybe check that out. You can run this deck with Eridan, for example, so you can, instead of Dagon, run this deck with Eridan. Eridan, he will spawn a bronze Wild Hunt unit, which is basically a Wild Hunt Navigator, one of these hounds. He spawns one of 4 units, and you can run that leader instead, but I highly recommend Dagon because it gives you that extra weather along with the 7 power, which is really nice. So, in terms of golden cards, I've got all the free golden cards in this deck, as it is a beginner deck. So we have Royal Decree, play a gold card from your deck. So this is a target draw for a gold card. Then we have Geralt, who is a 10 strength unit, but he is brave. Strengthen self by 3. Brave means, basically, this ability will trigger if your opponent is winning the current round, calculated after placing this unit. So basically, if your opponent is more than 10 points ahead of you, if you play Geralt, he'll actually be a 13 rather than a 10. Then we have Triss, deploy damage a unit by 5, so she targets a unit, and you can actually target friendly units as well as unfriendly units. So if the opponent may play something on your side that you don't want to deal with, because sometimes they can play negative cards on your side, then Triss can also deal with that. And we have Imlerith, deploy damage an enemy by 4. If the enemy is under frost, which is a weather effect, damage it by 8 instead. So he does damage as well, but he does more damage if the enemy is under frost, which we have here. Apply frost to a row. So frost you apply to an enemy's row, the front row, middle row, back row you choose, and this at the start of their turn it damages units by the units on the row by 1. So every unit that isn't golden on that row will take 1 damage. That's what frost does. And we also have this ice giant unit, boost self by 5 if frost is anywhere on the board. So if you've played frost and you have your ice giant out, he'll actually gain 5 points. But beware, because if frost gets removed, then he loses those 5 points. So that's something to be a little bit aware of with these ice giants. The other frost synergies we have in this deck, we have Wild Hunt Hound, deploy summon biting frost. So when you play him out, then he will pull a frost effect from your deck. And if you don't have any left in your deck, say they're all in your hand, then this won't actually trigger a frost effect. So be aware of that. And the other one we have here is Nithril. Biting frost damage increased to 2. So he does 2 biting frost damage instead of... you do 2 biting frost damage instead of 1. And that's our kind of frost synergies. Then we also have some fog synergies. So we've got a couple of fog cards down here. This is my premium fog, because I'm cool like that. Apply fog to a row. Fog, at the start of the turn, it damages the strongest or highest unit on the row by 2. So this one, it does a single unit and 2 damage each time. And on top of that, when you play a fog effect, this will pull your foglets, which is this card here, from the graveyard or the deck. So summon or resurrect this unit whenever you apply fog to an opposing row and place it on that row on your side. However, if the fog gets removed, then this unit gets removed. So basically what the 3 of these do is they give you 6 strength whenever you play a fog effect, which is nice. But on top of that, what we can do with fog is we've got our ancient foglets. At the start of the turn, boost self by 1 if fog is anywhere on the board. So these guys get a little bit stronger if you have fog on the board. Each turn they gain 1 strength. And if fog gets removed, they don't lose that strength. So whilst the ice giants will lose their strength, the ancient foglets won't. So that's kind of it with our weather strategies. To go through the rest of the cards, we have 2 Arch Griffins. Arch Griffin is a 7 strength common card, and when you play it, it removes weather from the row. So this is how we're choosing to counter weather in this deck. If you don't have Arch Griffins, you can always run First Light. First Light spawns Clear Skies or Rally. Clear Skies trigger all weather on your side, then clear all weather from your side. So it removes weather from your side. Although I found that it hasn't actually been triggering weather, it's just been removing it. So I'm not sure exactly if that's wording error or a bug or whatever. And the thing is, if they don't play weather, you can just play the Rally effect, and that'll play a random bronze unit from your deck. So that'll play, you know, a Foglet or an ancient foglet or what have you. I feel like I prefer the Arch Griffins for 2 reasons. Firstly, because bronze is a random card, and you could pull, for example, a foglet when you haven't played fog, and that's completely useless. And also with the Archgriffins, you can actually decoy them if someone plays a second amount of weather on you and you have one on the board. Decoy returns an ally to your hand, strengthens it by 3, and lets you play it again. So you can use this to replay an Archgriffin, or you could use it to replay Cleaver. Cleaver is a silver card that toggles a unit's lock. Lock disables the card's abilities and disables and reveals ambush. So you can lock a card if, you know, maybe someone plays a problematic card, or if you want to stop someone's Ancient Foglet from gaining power every turn, you could lock it, for example. Alternatively, if someone locks your Ancient Foglet, you can unlock it with the Cleaver. Next, we have Marigold's Hailstorm. This is not a free silver card. So all the other silver cards in this deck are free ones, but this one is not. But I like this card in beginner decks because it fits into any deck. It is a neutral card, and you damage all units on a row by half of their power, rounding down. Saying that, there are some cool weather effects you can actually get from the silver collection, such as Skellige Storm and White Frost. I'd recommend, if you have White Frost, play that in this deck over Marigold's Hailstorm. Apply Frost to a row on your opponent's side and the row above it. Frost, turn start, damage units on the row by 1. And actually, this is a viable neutral card as well, so you could switch out the Marigold's Hailstorm for White Frost, and this would still fit in other decks if you have it. In fact, in this situation, I think we will do that. Look at that, we'll make a little bit of a change. But if you don't have White Frost, that's okay. You can still, for example, run Dudu, who's the other free silver card, choose an enemy and copy its power, but that's just kind of a catch-up mechanism. Alternatively, you know, Dim Meridian Bomb also works in a lot of decks, so it really depends on what cards that you do have. Then we have Commander's Horn. Boost 5 adjacent units by 4. So this is if you have a bunch of units in a row. For example, Foglets, you can boost them. And they all gain 4 points. But beware, again, if they remove your Foglet's going to lose their boost. And I think last but not least, we have Scorch. Scorch destroys the highest unit on the board. So the S is if there's 2 tied, it will destroy both of them. Now, bear in mind, you can Scorch yourself. Scorch hits the highest unit across the entire board. So if you have the highest unit and you play Scorch, it will kill you, basically. It'll kill your unit. So be aware of that, because I feel like it's a rite of passage in Gwent that you've got to at least Scorch yourself once. Otherwise, can you really call yourself a true Gwentelman? That is the question. But that's Scorch. And this is the deck. If you like the deck, do hit this thumbs up button, guys, and let me know what you think in the comments below. In terms of kind of changes as you get better, Royal Decree is a targeted gold draw, but it doesn't really do anything beyond that. So this is the first gold card that I would switch out. And there's actually some really great gold weather cards. For example, we have Woodland Spirit. When you play this, it triggers Fog, so this gives you points and Fog, which is nice for your Foglet synergy. But it also spawns 3 Rabid Wolves, which are 1 strength, just a 1 strength melee unit. So you actually get 8 points here, which is nice. We also have Caranthier. It's in here somewhere. Where are you, Caranthier? There you are. Deploy, move 5 enemies to this unit's row on your opponent's side and apply Frost to that row. So that's another way of spawning Frost. So these are nice cards to switch in as you get more kind of weather-centric golden cards. Anyway, without further ado, I'm going to jump into a game and showcase this deck in action.
My folk have suffered much.
Okay, so we're up against Francesca. What that means is, in terms of the mulligan, I can actually afford to get rid of my weather removal cards, such as Archgriffin, because honestly, she's not playing weather. On top of this, if I have a Foglet, I want to get rid of a Foglet, because the thing with Foglets is you don't need 2 of them. Sorry, you don't need any in your deck, because you're going to summon them with Fog. We're going to get rid of Biting Frost because we have a card that summons Frost, and there's a Foglet, so we'll get rid of that as well. So this is our starting hand, basically. We've got 2 Fogs, but unfortunately no Ancient Foglets, which is a little bit awkward. We can't actually look at our cards until our opponent finishes their mulligan, which is somewhat irritating, but there we go. So in terms of our strategy for this starting hand, you can see we've got like lots of Frost options, so it's definitely worth considering, you know, playing Frost, basically. As it is, I'm going to pop out my Ice Giant for now, and then wait and see what our opponent plays. Obviously, we can Frost the row, and we actually have the White Frost in hand as well, so we can Frost multiple rows. We also have Dagon, so we can, you know, spawn Frost again if they do remove it. And there you can see she's decided to go for the front row. So what we're going to do, we'll play this card, which will pull a Frost card from our deck. We'll pop that on the front row, like so, and that buffs up our Ice Giant and starts to remove points from the Mahakam Defender, which is what we want to happen. So we're going to see what she does, if she allows it to kind of continue. And bear in mind, we can actually decoy our Wild Hunt Hound and pull another Frost from our deck. But if we do that, then any subsequent Wild Hunt Hounds will only be worth their points. So that's worth being aware of. But with this kind of deck, it typically, I feel like it helps to have a Frost strategy and then like a one round where you do a frost strategy and one round where you do a fog strategy. So she's locked our ice giant, but this doesn't really matter because actually she's helped us here, because by locking the ice giant, what she's done is she's made it so that basically the giant, he won't lose his points if the frost is removed. That's all that the locking does there. He's had his boost, he's had his points, you know, gained, so that's pretty good. And I think what we're going to go for here actually is a Royal Decree, and we'll pull, I want to say Triss from our deck. Yeah, like Imlerith, it'll kill this guy, but you know, so will Triss. So this is fine. We'll pop this in the middle row, and we'll just take out her resilient unit like so. It does mean that if she plays more units, she's likely to put them in further back rows, but that's okay because we can then apply more frost. And honestly, I think we're in a, you know, a nice position here. Depending on what she plays, we might, you know, just leave it and pass. Okay, so we have an ambush card. Ambush cards flip when something happens. Actually, I think at this stage, I'm just going to pass it. Like, she's got to play a decent amount to help us. Although, actually, what we could do is we can play Cleaver, and then we can lock this card, and by locking it, we reveal it. So that's a 6-point Sapper. So she's playing the cards that flip over after 2 turns, and you can see she's decided that's enough for her. So we'll pass as well, and that's 1 round in hand. And you notice we still have a lot of weather in our hands. So this is pretty nice for us, really. So there we drew a Foglet. We want to mulligan the Foglet. Archgriffin we can hold on to. I mean, she's not likely to play Weather, but it's still 7 points in hand. So let's mulligan this Foglet. Unfortunately, we drew a second Archgriffin, so a little bit awkward. But honestly, this round we can actually afford to lose. We don't have to win this round, basically. So let's just pop a Griffin on the board, get some points out. And you can see there's the Clear Skies effect. It's removing weather from the row that you place it on. Obviously, there's no weather there, but if there was, it would have removed it. So I'm waiting to see what row she puts units on so that we can apply fog to that row. Then she's gone front row. So fog comes out, we'll put that on the front row. And you can see that's pulled the Foglets out of our deck. And that's really useful because now it means going into the final round, we don't have a chance of drawing a Foglet. So the card that we draw is more likely to be useful, basically. So you can see there she's actually chosen to remove our Foglets, but honestly it's not really a problem for us because we can just pull them back if we wanted to. And actually I think we do want to do that. I think we're going to pull our Foglets back this turn because we can always replay Fog or Frost with Dagon. So what I'm actually going to do is apply it to the middle row now, so that then if she plays units on the middle row as well, they will be fogged. Now it does mean I've played 2 weathers, so her Clear Skies is likely to be more useful. But because we have plenty more weather in hand, that's not really a problem for us. We have White Frost that will play 2 rows of weather, and we have our Dagon, which we can use to play weather as well.
Any last words?
And there's Geralt, so she's used the Geralt to catch up. But the thing is, the Mahakam Defender is going to get removed, and I'm actually quite happy continuing this round for the time being, and just kind of see what she does. I mean, we've always got Geralt we could play on the final round, and as things are, we could Commander's Horn or Foglets, but I want to kind of bait it out a little bit and see if she does play any kind of weather removal. Because the longer this goes on, you know, the less likely it is that she's going to play weather removal. So that's basically what we're aware of here. So there's the Scorch. She's removed our points. And we can honestly pull back the Foglets, which is... Oh, we've got the Foglets. We could Commander's Horn the Foglets. That'll give us 12 points, which I am tempted to do, but, you know, the question is do we have enough points, I guess is the question. Is it worth doing it now? The alternative is we play Dagon. Dagon will catch us up, but it means that we won't be able to pull Foglets next round. Decoy's not that useful here. Or we can play Geralt just for 10. I guess my worry is that I'm not going to have units. That's my kind of fear. I think we'll play Geralt for now.
Let's get this over with.
I mean, he's only worth 10, but the thing is, she's not got any other units on the board, and if she does play units, we can start to remove them.
We do what must be done.
So there's Francesca. And you can see she's avoiding putting units into the weather because the later she plays the units, the less damage they're going to take, so this is quite strategic by her. But we have to kind of read her cards a little bit, and my worry is that she's going to play a lot of resilient cards right at the end. But I'm kind of feeling like she doesn't have weather removal. I feel like she would have removed it by now if she did. So I'm gonna go for the Commander's Horn here, you guys, and hopefully it'll work out. She's played her Scorch, so I know she can't remove them. And the row doesn't add up to 20, which means we don't have to worry about Igni. Igni is a golden card where if a row adds up to 20, it destroys the strongest unit on the row. And if there's 3 with the same strength, obviously that's a bit of a problem.
Cadmel and Shay.
Okay, so we've got a Dol Blathana protector. And I think, you know, we gotta go whole hog here, you guys. So we'll put Dagon out in the back row. And we'll go for... Why not just get it really foggy in here? We'll go for fog and we'll fog the back row as well. And this has given us a nice lead, and anything that she does play is going to start losing points regardless of what row she plays it in.
If I must.
You know, Dudu's going to get 6, but he's going to start getting whittled down. I could decoy, but decoy will remove the points on my foglet, so here I'm going to pass. I don't have anything else that I can play, unfortunately. And I guess we got to the situation where we had too much weather, but you can see all of her cards are getting whittled down each turn. There's Say Synthesis, and does damage based on the number of elves she has out. She doesn't really have many elves. And you can see this weather effect is really, really harming her. She's 7 points behind, but she's going to have to go into card at disadvantage if she wants to win this. So she's going to replay him and put him back up to 6.
Since you insist.
But he's still going to, you know, get whittled away by the weather. And she still needs points to win. This is the thing. And this is kind of the power of the weather. So she's going to go for Spores or Mutagen. This does, what, 3 damage? So it's not enough. She's not done enough. And basically here you can see that I've completely overwhelmed her with the weather. The weather was, you know, a little bit too much. So even though we didn't get, you know, Ancient Foglets or that many units on our mulligan, we really were quite special card heavy. We managed to make it work and read our opponent. And the thing is, even if she had beaten us in that round, we would have gone into the next round with card advantage. We could have mulliganed away one of our special cards to try and get more points. And I think the third round would have been ours. You know, going from there. But that's the deck, basically. And yeah, I think it's a pretty good deck. And I think we're going to hit level 2. Look at that. See, beginner decks, they will get you at least 1 level. And yeah, that's kind of it. Always send a good game, you guys. I think sending a good game is always nice. We got a keg. I guess we can finish this up with a keg opening. Why not? In terms of kind of card changes, if you feel like maybe the deck has too many special cards, you could potentially remove a fog or a frost. Because you have the... I would maybe probably say a fog. Because you have the Dagon ability, that's nice. And especially if you add in, say, the Woodland Spirit, which is a golden card that applies fog, that's basically another fog in your deck. So if you're adding in, say, wrong deck, if you're adding in, say, Corinthia or Woodland Spirit, then I would recommend maybe taking out a frost or a fog. Although, be aware that, you know, the Wild Hunt Hounds do summon fog. So let's just open this pack. You know what? We're gonna just wrap up this video and open this keg. Why not? And hopefully we're gonna get some beginner's luck. I have faith in beginner's luck, you guys. If it's 4 whites and a blue, I'm gonna cry. Come on, Shoop. Shoop. Come on. Well, there's 4 whites and a purple. Hey, look at this. So our choices are Donner and Hinder, toggle units lock. So this is a Skellige card that just toggles lock. Fire Elemental, deploy, spawn 3 lesser fire elementals, brave, strengthened by 2, or Teruvial Ambush, spring when your opponent passes and boost 2 units on either side. I think I'm going to go for Teruvial here over the Fire Elemental. Fire Elemental is nice, but it doesn't necessarily fit into many monster archetypes. Although the lesser Fire Elementals, they may work quite nicely in Consume, for example, but as it is, we're going to grab Teruvial. Anyway, guys, this has been my beginner monsters deck guide. Keep an eye out tomorrow for another beginner deck. We'll make sure we get one for all of the factions. And if you've liked this video, do hit that thumbs up button. Have a fantastic day. Thanks for watching, and hopefully I'll catch you guys next time. Bye!